Stop slipping out.
Okay, it is. Okay, welcome to Book Harlots. I am AJ Norris.
I'm Eliza Mann.
I'm Sage Spelling.
We are friends. We are three friends talking, analyzing books. Today we are doing Lover Awakens by Dara Ward.
Yes.
We will read just a little bit of the back here. This is a former blood save. The vampire Zadist still bears the scars from a past filled with suffering and humiliation. Renowned for his unquenchable fury and sinister deeds, he is a savage feared by humans and vampires alike. Anger is his only companion and terror his only passion, until he rescues a beautiful female from the evil lessening society. Bella is instantly entranced by the seething power Zadist possesses. But even as their desire for each other begins to overtake them, Zadist's thirst for vengeance against Bella's tormentors drives him to the brink of madness. Now Bella must help her lover overcome the wounds of his tortured past and find a future with her. Woo-hoo. Okay.
Well,
We'll just go on to the questions.
yeah, I think it's a lot this week with our friend Zadis.
Yes, with our friend. Okay, so this book is filled with some atrocities. What was the worst thing to happen in your opinion?
Oh my God.
Oh
my God. So I don't want to skip all the way to the end, but it was so much. It was like first Bella's in a pipe underground for weeks. Zadis is tortured and then evicted from her house. It was so, like, everything terrible we heard Zadis' terrible backstory and Fury's backstory. Like, it was, I think, though, the worst thing that happened for me was probably, the thing that immediately jumps into my mind is Wellesley. Because and not just because she died, that was horrible, but also what it did to John and what it did to John's just forming family. And he wasn't even the same person at the end of that book as he had been. He matured before transition because of this, and I was shook. So that it was like he had a mom for like 2 minutes, and then she was just snatched away. That was so terrible. But Sage, you go. I'm not gonna cry today.
I mean,
I'm not ready.
I think I cried like 7 times reading this book. Everything was so sad. They all had really horrible past, right? So there was like a lot of abuse and sexual abuse and physical abuse and mental abuse in this story that was so hard to read, right? And so hard to like experience through their eyes. I think the worst, I agree that Wellesley was the worst thing to deal with in the story because it happened then, right? It's a fresh thing that happened in the story. Everything else, they were either, it was all either backstory or they were healing and moving through it. It was torturous to read and so sad to feel their emotions through the whole thing. But Wellesley was, I think, the worst thing in the story to watch her. And then in that vicious way that she passes away is the worst thing that happened in the series so far, I think.
Right. I think so too.
I have to say, like, the first time I read this, I don't know if I just skimmed over that part or not, but this time it was like when she died, it was just a lot deeper for me. I don't know why. I'm not sure why. I must have just had blinders on the first time I read these books because I just didn't. This time I was like, whoa, like that sucked.
Mm-hmm.
And and just what happened with Zadist and just like everything against his will is just, I don't know which one. That was just so icky.
It was terrible.
You just wanted to kill the mistress yourself. And that's just so bad. And then Fury shooting his own leg off. Can you imagine the pain that must have been? I mean, I can't. That's just horrible.
I feel like, in that scene, like, because Fury had witnessed Zadis being You know, she was salving him up, lubing him up. And he kind of was so, like, Zadis was so resolved to his fate. He just was like, he looked around and he was like, oh, you know, whatever. Not even realizing that this dude had the same color eyes as he should have had, because he hadn't seen himself, right? And he just kind of like zoned out. And I think at that moment, Fury, you know, just, I think that's where all his guilt came from, kind of, you know, seeing it, hearing about it and seeing it is two different things. And I think that probably altered the rest of Fury's life. That it was just terrible. I did want to kill her myself. I like absolutely murder her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he suffered a lot from survivor's guilt. Everything that he did for Zadis, everything that he all the ways he lives his life is almost like punishment for the things that he did not endure and his brother did. And it was really sad, really, really sad. Even though I did want to beat him, there were moments I wanted to kill him. But his story and the things that he's dealing with, I mean, the guy needs help. He needs therapy. He needs to talk to Mary too. He needs to sit and talk to Mary.
Yeah, he could probably stand that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So why do you think it took so long for Fury and the rest of the brothers to realize that Zadis was bonded with Bella? And then the second part of this is, how angry were you when Wrath and Fury decided Bella couldn't stay with Zeke?
So your dog is feeling my pain. Do you want to go first? You want to go first, Sage? Because if I'm going to take a while. You go first.
Wait, what was the question?
Wait, we've been tripping like all day. Like
last week is my husband, this week's the dog. So, you know.
Oh my God.
I really can't remember what the question was.
How long did it take? Why did it take so long for Fury and the rest of the brothers to realize Zadis was bonded?
I don't know. It made me mad the whole time. I mean, from the last book, like, I figured out he bonded with her from him getting angry when she touched Fury's hair. Like, you saw that, you felt his like, don't touch him. You know, you felt that anger in him from there. And all the things that he did, he was going to her house. He cleaned her house. He was like pining over her. After they found her, he cradled her. He doesn't touch anyone. No one is allowed to touch him. Period. And then here he is cradling this strange woman against him. That's not him. Why did it take them so long? They even commented like he's acting like a bonded male. Because he is one.
You think? So first of all, anytime a man cleans your house, he love you. That is just the what. I mean, he didn't like clean, like, you know, make her bed, like pull the sheets over. He legit cleaned. He probably cleaned like behind the toilet. Like he cleaned like all, like we cleaned. And he was like, you know, he put her necklace on. He had the hairband around his wrist. I'm like, dude, like, loves her. And Butch saw that he had cleaned the house. Butch ain't cleaned up nothing since he been it. Butch ain't even bought his own clothes. So I am trying to figure out why, when that is so extraordinarily out of the ordinary for dudes.
Much less somebody like Zadis. Much less somebody like Zadis, right? Like, I mean, if Fury did it, he's a nice guy. He does nice things, right?
It's very nice, though.
To everyone but his brother. But,
we'll
talk about it later.
But you know what I mean? Like, if somebody, if it would be, you know, possibly, maybe he was just being nice. I'm not saying that's, no.
Right. It was interesting. It was like they didn't, it was like, he had been so because I've been thinking about this and I'm trying to like figure it out, because they're not stupid people, right? So they're very intuitive most of the time. They can smell things. Nobody smelled like the change in Fury when they talked about Bella. At least it wasn't mentioned. I've seen them smell things on men. I've seen them smell things from like subtle shifts, right? And like it can be something really, really, you know, mild. And then like, oh, I smell the change in the air. And I'm like, so why, even though he may not have had his phone on by this and out, why couldn't they feel his emotions shift when he either talked about, he left when the sun was going down to go to
right. He felt some of the heat when he got there.
Got
the sun was not completely down, right? So he still had like 3 more minutes, I think, or something.
And it wasn't even quiet. It wasn't even like they didn't know about it. They saw him leave before them, and then they got there after he did, and he was already beating feet looking for Bella, and already kind of, you know, like you could probably feel that level of emotion, like the fear, the anger that they had her in the first place. You could probably feel that. So why didn't they notice? I don't get it. I feel like Fury had been dark for so long that they were too nervous to assign, you know, something like that to him. Maybe automatically thinking he was incapable, because we do kind of guide people and give them a compass of how to treat us, right? So maybe that was just the map he laid, but I still think it was a bit unfair.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with the map that he does lay out for them, because we've seen him do that with everyone. It was almost like every time he met a new character, especially women, he lashes out at them right in that first moment, so that it's like almost like dislike me before you can even look twice at me, right? He did it to Beth. He did it to Mary. You know, it's part of his thing. So I do agree that he does things like that to he wants people to treat him in that way.
Agreed.
Right.
How about you, AJ? Did you give it?
Huh?
What are your thoughts? Did you give your thoughts?
Sorry, my dogs were just, I don't know what's up with them.
They're like, pay attention to me, not to them. Those ladies. Who are they?
Who?
I said your dogs are like, pay attention to me, not those ladies.
I don't know. There's just like something underneath the refrigerator he's digging at, and I'm like, what are you doing?
It's fine.
I think, it was just really frustrating to see the brothers just not get it. And the only thing I can think of is just that they're basing their opinions on him on their past experience with him, instead of looking at things that he's doing now. They're looking at the past and blaming him for things that, rumors that aren't even necessarily true. So that was a little frustrating, and I hated that Fury bullied Bella into leaving Zeus' room. That really, I just wanted to knock his head off his neck. I was just so irritated. It's like, God, why can't you notice? Like, why don't you see your brother's like singing to her? In
the bathtub. Like he was so like not. I'm gonna tell you, I've never seen. I don't think I've ever seen, like, to this day, seen Wrath clean up. Nor have I seen like Rage sing to. We're gonna stay with the books that we're in. Right. I haven't seen Rage like walk around singing. And dude don't even sing. Like, he really talks. So agreed.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Very.
And like some of the nasty things they said about him too, they were really nasty. Like, they called him a monster. They called him, what else did he call him?
You're saying they. It was Fury.
It was Fury.
Fury frequently would say things that were so insulting to Z, and I think Z accepted them because he was used to it from being a blood slave.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think I mean, I think in his own way, he understands. I mean, he loves his brother though, you know, and so
He
he's like, well,
does.
I sort of deserve it too, so I'm gonna let him do it because you know there's some self-loathing going on there for both of them. They both really were kind of in the same spot in their lives. I mean, if you really think about it, um, they were in the same spot. They were both stuck and both, you know, self-loathing. They both had a lot of self-loathing. So
Codependent
yeah, dependent.
relationship
And you
for
had
sure.
Fury's a drug addict, you know, and then Zadist, you know, that's how he's dealing with his demons. And then, you know, Zadist is starving himself, you know, it's like they're both,
Yeah.
you know, it's just a different vice, same reasons almost in a
It
way.
was a lot. It was a
Yeah.
lot. Their relationship was definitely codependent and almost to the point of toxicity because, but I get why, right? Fury had to shoot his own leg off to get his brother out of there. Like that's a hell of a decision to have to make. So you sit there and you're like, either we both gonna die because nobody's gonna help either of us. Because the sun is almost up, or I'm gonna shoot my leg off to save my brother that I just met a few minutes ago. And he had been looking for him forever. So I don't think it was a hard decision. I don't think it was a hard decision at all. But I think it's a hell of a decision to have to make. And then their fates were kind of sealed because both of them are damaged at that point and falling into the sea. You know, there's no way back from that. I don't think they can heal from a leg amputation anyway, but these scars would have definitely healed. So it was just that whole backstory was tragic AF, and I think it was the worst thing. Like even with Rage and his beast, that's not as bad as Zega's backstory or Fury's.
No,
It got dark.
you gotta think about Zadis's first sexual experience was a rape. So I mean, how are you? You know,
His first 100
yeah,
for 100 years. This poor man was raped over and over again.
Yeah.
It was that, and then he didn't even have a chance to get used to himself. You know how like Tora explained to JM that it's a lot to deal with these bodies. We're gonna change. You're gonna change. It's gonna be a lot to grow into. And he didn't even have a chance to learn any of that. He transitioned. She strapped him to the table. It was like, it's on and popping. And that poor guy stayed like that for 100 years with nobody talking to him, nobody feeling filthy. He was a kitchen boy, which was bad enough for him being, for the life he should have had. And then she just snatched him and turned him into, a subspecies of vampires. So that was really tragic.
Yeah.
I ain't like it.
So it's like our next question was kind of along the same thing. I think we already kind of covered it, but it was like, since Sadis came home from being a blood slave, had he actually done something to hurt anyone? I keep coming back to, we keep coming back to this question. Still don't understand why Fury or the rest of the brothers think Sadis is a monster. In the scene where the Lesser attacks inside of Bella's house, and Zadis, jumps on him and he bites his neck, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
It's like calling, him a monster, a savage for doing that. And it's like, well, yeah, why is that? They all do things just because he bit him. Some of the other vampires bit. He's not the only one.
Rage literally eats. He eats.
Yeah.
He eats people.
He eats like. My stomach hurt. I'm like, I bet you ate 45 lessers last night.
Right.
Sir. That you got to sometime her age.
So it was calling him a monster was kind of unfounded a lot of times, and it's like I always would think about like why would he stay too? If he didn't have any love for the brothers, why would he stay? Like there's no reason for him to stay other than love. So he couldn't have been all that bad because you're not going to stay for the hell of it.
No.
He could kill Lessers on his own. He didn't need to be in the Brotherhood. So it's like, I just always come back to that is like, the reason he stayed was, because he loved his brother and, that was his family.
And he loved the brothers.
Yeah,
not just his brother.
yeah,
He loved
all of them.
his brothers. He took pride in serving his king. And they take that for granted, I think.
Yeah, and that was evident, like in Dark Lover, you know, where he was just as respectful of Beth, you know, when they all stood and they threw their daggers at her feet, you know, to acknowledge her as the queen, as their queen, you know, and it's like they took that pledge to her, the oath. But he did the same thing. He wasn't disrespectful. He was, you know, he so it's not like he can't conform to things, you know. So I just thought that was kind of, you know, it's like he still respected, you know, them.
I struggle with like he was clearly the most emotional one at times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when Rage, you know, he didn't want to, like he always, like whenever it's something bad shit happening, he's always like, I'm out, I'm not doing this, you know, and I think that shows that he had, you know, some level of emotional quotient, and I just think they were just refusing to acknowledge it, and I'm like, that is ridiculous.
It's almost like they bought into the hype that he was trying to let strangers see, right? So it's almost like he put on this face so that strangers wouldn't look close, but his own, I mean, the brothers are his family, right? They bought into that same thing he was telling everyone else, which it really upsets me because you knew him well enough to see the vulnerability in him, and you completely ignored it.
Right.
Yeah, I believe that with my whole heart, that he gave them that, he kind of showed them how he wanted to be treated. In a lot of ways, Z accepted that treatment because he had been so used to it before. And even when you know, people were trying to be nice to him, he would make sure that they had a reason to be angry with him. So I really believe that that's what it is. I know that he didn't do anything any worse than, well, we didn't see him do anything any worse than any of the other brothers, right? And the one woman that he killed was the mistress, and I cheered. I was so happy, and he wasn't even gonna kill her. It's just that she walked downstairs and he was trying to like keep her from alerting the guards. He kept the skull. The skull is there. That's a little
twisted, but it's okay.
Yeah,
you know, people that go through stuff sometimes harbor a little bit of anger. I mean,
it was her skull, y'all.
It's like he maybe.
Listen, I wore my skull shirt for him.
I feel like, you know, maybe he did that just so he knew that she was dead. I don't know.
Reassurance.
Maybe it made him feel better. I don't know, but he clearly needed some therapy. They didn't have enough therapy, bless their hearts, beforehand. Like it was Havers, and he was like, whatever, I don't know, you're a warrior, deal with it. And I really think it would have helped if they would have, you know, talked to him about it, but they never did.
Yep. So do you think that, we're back on Fury again, so do you think that Fury's bonding feeling for Bella was, I'm sorry, this question gets cut off, so.
Yeah.
That Fury
it's like the lust thing.
Yeah, was he bonding for her? I mean, did you think Fury was starting to bond with her, or was it just a feeling through their twin bond, or something else? So I personally think that it was just lust. It wasn't a bond. He just had never had feelings for a female like that, or, you know, and I don't think he was bonding though. I think he just, because he wasn't really territorial about her ever. He was concerned for her, but he was never territorial.
He was a bully for her.
I'll get the frick away like Zadis was.
Yeah.
So
he was a bully. He was a bully for her, but not. So in the question of boner versus bonding, I'm going to say it was definitely his boner that was getting him, like, you know, like, oh, I like that. I do, like, I think he did have, like, for a minute, it was like his scent. She noticed his scent. But
it did smell lust though, so.
But it was lust. It's almost like, because she's a vampire, so she can smell those emotions. So I don't believe he ever, because he would not have been able to stand watching Zadis be with her. he would have had to leave. He would have had to bolt. You know, I don't think he could have.
Yep.
I agree, because he didn't smell. I mean, he even said, I don't smell the bonding scent on me, and I'm not sure if I smelled it on Zetas when he was questioning it, but I'm pretty sure that the spice was all lust, and he from the moment she touched his hair, I think he was already feeling her like, she's cute, that's my type of girl. Like, if I had a type, that would be it. But when she touched his hair, and he just was, you know, like, I think probably it was the first time a woman touched him, right? Like, at all.
No,
he allowed it.
Because all of them, like, froze. They all, like, absolutely froze when this girl touched
felt
his
bad
hair.
because he wouldn't go, like, so, you know, somebody's having sex and then they get touched in a way that could be perceived as sexual. You kind of like, what? What's
Like the whole room, though, right?
But I'm pretty sure Fury is fine as fuck. I'm pretty sure he's been touched by a woman. Like they probably can't help it. Like, they just walk up to him and they're like, "Hey, how are you?" And then you do that muscle thing, you know. And he's so textual. Like, look at your textuality. And right. And then you look at it like I was thinking about why. You know, we talked about that last time. Like, why the fuck she touched his hair? She couldn't help it, poor thing. She was just like, this is a lot. I'm gonna take it in and I'm gonna rub something, you know. And
well, plus she knew that. Yeah. Plus she knew that he was his twin, and that his hair would probably look like that. So I think she was transferring or something. I don't know.
I'm not mad at Bella anymore. Last week, I think because I was fresh off it, I was like, Bella, don't touch his fucking hair. But now I'm like,
Well, I guess she asked after the fact, but yeah. So why won't Z drink from a vampire, or from a female vampire?
Because he don't want to feel anything. You know, like, you can see. He picks prostitutes when he goes over. He gets one of Red's hoes. He picks prostitutes that have their hair up or short hair. He doesn't like for anyone to touch him. Period. Not anyone, unless it's in a. I'm sorry, I keep getting messages and I'm using my phone, so that's why I'm like, I'm not blocking you guys out. But he just doesn't want that feeling. And we know from experiences with other vampires that when you're drinking blood, you can see or feel or taste experiences that they've had. He probably don't want to do that to anyone because he got some dark shit happening, and he probably doesn't enjoy the sensation because it feels dirty to him. So I really believe that that's a lot of why he does it, because he has more control with humans than he would with a vampire.
I think it's also that he was force fed. He had force feedings, and if he didn't feed, the mistress would kill the females that she brought to him. So it was just, he was forced to do it, and he wanted it to be on his own terms instead, which is similar to what you're saying too. So yeah.
Yeah, it was, you know, the anorexia is anorexia almost, right? It's like no, it's not anorexia. It's definitely an eating disorder, though. Like, where you go, I'm only going to eat enough to sustain me, because I'm staying alive because I want to serve the king. I'm staying alive because I want to fight alongside my brothers. I'm not doing any of this for me, so I'm barely sustaining myself, you know?
Do you think Zetas had a panic attack when he was told that he couldn't go to Bella's house anymore?
Yeah. I do. I definitely do. I think that he was having he wasn't recognizing what was happening to him, but he was like, his palms were getting sweaty. He had chest pains. He was like really, really having this versatile reaction to just being told you can't come here anymore. And I think because at that time he thought she was dead, you know, he was panicking because any connection that he had with her was going to be gone if he couldn't have that.
Yeah, like he wanted to buy the house. So
yeah, he wanted to buy the house, and though he would, and you know, they was like, well, I want to buy the house, and they told him, well, they're not selling the house, so and you just can't come here, and sucks to be you. And it was just like, they were so mean to him, man.
He was kind of like, that's bullshit.
Yeah. Like, I can't even buy the house. Like, what?
Give me this house. Oh my God. I loved it. I was like, I feel you. They should totes sell you the house. You know, I mean, I get why they didn't,
Right.
but I wanted them to sell the house. Bad.
Okay, so why was John Matthew treated like a child? He's almost Beth's age. So, you know, and then, you know, that's something that always bothered me. And even after he like do that, but I mean, yeah, it's just always son, kid, you know, and he's 22 years old. You know, I know by human terms, human standards, that's you know, that's of age, you know, but vampires is not. But he was raised in a human world, so you think he would think that he might have a problem with it, but he never said anything. I think he actually liked it because it made him feel like a part of the family. So
yeah, I think it did. I also think that if a vampire's average lifespan is what, 500 years?
no, it's like 1,000.
1,000 years. 22 years is a kid. Like, I call my daughter a kid. Like, she's like almost, you know, she's married with a baby. So, you know, I think it's just relativity. I don't think they mean any harm by it. It didn't bother me because I'm Southern already and we call everybody baby, and, you know, and I mom everybody. We could be the same age and I'm momming people. So I think it's a little bit of that they're, you know, he doesn't know a lot, and it's like, we're your elders and you haven't even transitioned yet. You know what I mean? So that's got to be the equivalent of a toddler to a vampire, right? It's like
I get it. I mean, I get what you're saying, because he is, compared to them, like we said, we were counting the other day, he's like 250 years old. I mean, yeah, John's 22 years old as a child. I think the only thing that confused me was he still gets treated like a child, but Beth, which was only a couple of years older because she was 25, she's treated with respect because she's with the king, and she was all along treated like an adult. Maybe because she was, you know, half human or whatnot, but it's kind of weird how he gets treated more like an actual child, and she came in just being treated as an adult.
Yeah.
You know?
Doesn't John act like a child though? Like it goes back to that compass thing, right? So Beth came in. Do you really believe that Beth would let somebody son her? Like daughter?
No.
You know, she ain't buying that. She'll be like, Ralph, if you sit your ass down and quit talking to me like that, I'm not having it. Not today, Saints.
No,
but John acts very much like a child.
He does. You're right.
You know, but at the same time, he'd been on his own since he was 16. So he, you know, he paid his bills. He, you know, bought clothes. He did all adult things prior to meeting the Brotherhood. So it wasn't like he was, you know, dependent on anybody else. He wasn't. He was an independent person.
To be.
Huh?
But he wanted to
right,
be.
Right. And I think,
you know, so I think he fell into that role and just let them do it.
And I think the confidence thing, I think like they thought of him as a child because he was shy and, you know, all this stuff. So it was like they wanted to take care of him because they thought of him as being helpless, but I don't actually think he is. So.
But I think he was, now that you said that, it made me think about him wanting that safety, right? So with everything that he went through, that last time with what made him call Tor was because of fear, and he wanted to feel safe, and maybe that him having that safety is where he compromises with a little less of the
I said right, absolutely. Yeah. I agree with that. I think I think they very much allow people to define their path a bit. Even with Fritz, like Fritz wants to be useful and helpful, and a lot of times they're like, I could totally do this myself, but they spare his feelings all the time. I'm gonna use any inroad to talk about Fritz that I can. I know we're not talking about him, but I wanted to bring him up because, you know, he's never on the page enough in my opinion. But, you know, you see what I'm saying? I feel like they very much let people show them who they are. And whether we agree with it all the time or not, a lot of times people get what they, they get treated the way they kind of want to be treated. I think, like, he didn't know how to eat. He didn't know how to, he couldn't buy, he had like 2 pair of jeans, so he was barely surviving, if anything. And when you come from a place of need and scarcity, sometimes when you step into abundance, you don't know what to do. So he stepped into this, to him, that must have been like, Tor's place must have been a palace. And you could feel that. And he's like, I don't know how to behave. I don't know how to act. And I am, lost here. We talked about him having a nightmare and Wellesley holding him and cradling him. He let her hold him, right? Because he needed her to hold him. He doesn't have, he's never had any of that stuff. So it felt good. So I think a lot of times, they were like, well, he needs this. And I think that's okay. I think it's okay. I just, I really think that they were judging him based on what he needed, giving him what he needed. And I think they followed Tor's lead, which they still, like, to this day, follow Tor's lead, right? So I think he wanted it. I think he needed it.
Yeah, and that kind of leads to the, like, John was really concerned about Tor not thinking he was a man by crying or, doing things that are not manly. And it's like, is it because he just has this feeling that Tor was once in his role, basically he was the mentee, and, John, when he was Darius, was the mentor, and it's like, does he have that kind of feeling, or, it's like, I don't know. Was it that?
That's an interesting question, because John is very perceptive to the past, and he has these feelings and stuff. So that is actually a very good connection to say that he has that bond with him because of their history.
He was never like, when he I don't know, was it this book or the last book where John, like, goes up to Tor and, like, touches his fangs, and he was not, like, shocked at all. He was just like, it like comforted him, really,
I think it was this. It's all running together.
Yeah.
Book ahead right now, and I'm like,
I think it was the first book, was when he told him that he was a vampire, and he flashed his fangs and he touched him. Yeah. It was the last book.
And I think that was kind of amazement, though, because he was kind of like, how could this be true? Well, for John, I think it was acceptance, right? Because I think he knew that he was a vampire from the dreams, and and he was kind of embarrassed by that. And I think it felt really good for him to see that, I'm not crazy. Like, this is, this is absolutely real. It's a little different than we dream we're vampires. We probably should see someone, but but in his case, I think he was just like, oh, well, that makes sense. And I think later on he was like, this finally makes sense. It all makes sense now,
So moving on to revenge, because we gotta go there, girls. Gotta go there.
Oh, revenge.
Temperature's rising here. So
that's my husband.
So
dopamine and all.
That's purple eyes. Purple is your color. So did you think Revenge overreacted to Bella not coming home right away? And we'll talk more about Revenge, but that's the first question.
Absolutely. I think Revenge was being a douche the whole time. Anytime it came to the brothers, he was like, I'm not fooling with them. I'm not fooling with them. Like, he really didn't appreciate the way, in his mind, they left the race to fend for themselves. They didn't count all the lessers that they were eliminating. So yeah, I think he was a little bit jerky. I didn't mind. I understand where he was coming from. I'm gonna
Of course
stand by
you're gonna
my
defend
man.
him.
I'm gonna Tammy Wynette this bitch. I'm standing by my man.
I see that.
I understand. Get her home, damn it.
So what's so appealing about revenge?
What's appealing about him? My God, he wears a sable coat. He wears a sable coat on like Tuesday. He is he's so like sneak this. He's so shady sometimes, and I love a good old shady man. I like him. I don't know. I just like him so much. Maybe it is.
Well, like I said, that was the first book I read, you know, because I can tell you, I was just like, who is this dude? Like, whoo. And like,
it's that cold. It's his apartment tricked out. And let me tell you what got me. Marissa said he was sitting there in a position that I think it was like he was ready for sex, or he was, and I'm like, I know this man is impotent, but
well, it's on the dopamine, but
he was the only one that had ever been described as sitting there ready for sex, and I was like, I'm like, let me read that again. Well, let me flip it back. Woo! I was like, this is it for me, y'all. I'm waiting on his book. I want his book. I was like praying at the time. I'm like, please let him be in like every book all the time. Every time. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Why you like him, Sage?
I mean, he's got a mohawk and violet eyes. I mean, right there. And, you know, we all like the bad boys. So I
tan and tatted.
Right. Tan, tatted, violet eyes, and a mohawk. I mean, sign me up.
Walking.
Right.
Oh, gorgeous. Yeah. What about you, AJ? What did it? Or did you say already? I'm sorry, I was in my rage.
No, I just
in my
okay. So I read his book first, so I guess we can't really skip ahead. But I guess it's just he just has sex appeal. Like, it's just he oozes it. Infinite or not, he's just like, yeah, baby, I got, you know, he's just.
I never would have believed it. Never would have believed it.
I don't know what it is.
And that's the persona too, right?
About, but so far of what we've met.
It's his persona too, right? So you have this, like, I don't know, I love bad boys, right? So it's like you have this, like, he has this, like, good personality. Everybody sees him as this, like, aristocrat, you know, head of the household personality, but then the real him is this bad boy drug dealer. There's like a drug lord and has this club, and, you know, like, he's just badass, and it's like that two sides of him that makes him even more intriguing.
Yeah, and I feel almost like three sides. So, and I feel like it's like he, you know, you're really old when you. Oh yeah, I know what I was gonna say. I always picture him with like a shit-eating grin on his face, you know.
Oh yeah, I like when he messes with people. Yeah. I think he's very much. He's so masterful with his words and the way he can like trap people into things, and he's like, you know, he can like rope people in and just like get what he needs out of the situation, and then like calmly, you know, extract himself. And I feel mind fucked when he talks to people. I'm like, what he say? What he do? You know, and so it's.
But it's the sympath, right? So it's that sympath part of him that has him be able to manipulate people in that way too.
Yeah.
Right. He manipulated Fury. So.
Right. But I actually, Fury was good in the way where he was like, so how did you guys feel? Like, actually, I don't think it's one of the questions, but how did you guys feel about Fury kissing Reb like that?
Spinning his lip.
I knew that he had to do something to recover. Like he had been screwed with. You know,
Yeah.
and Red was sitting there, he was like super smug with it, like, but I mean, what is it? You want, I mean, you know what I mean? And it was one of those moments where he was like, I need to one up this guy, and the only way I can disarm him is by doing something so fast that he'll never expect it, right?
Mhm.
So he like quick kissed him, you know, and he kind of let him know this, and Fury was being badass, and you know, we don't, you know, he got a thing, and we're gonna talk about it, but he was being badass, and he was like, you think you gonna fuck me, I'm gonna fuck you. And that was the only time I think I've ever seen Rev like disarm, because he was like, what the fuck, like, dude, like,
Did that just happen?
yeah, I really think that was like the baddest ass I've ever seen Grandpa Fury. So I appreciated that whole scene. I was like, get him, Fury, but you know, I'm still standing by my man, of course. But yeah, it was good. I love everything about it. So I didn't have a problem with him kissing it. I think he needed to, because that was the only thing that got revenge off his ass.
That's the thing. So let's talk about the potato launcher. I thought that was a funny scene just because of the fact that Fury is just not have a sense of humor, and I just love Butch was just like, he just doesn't have a thing. He doesn't have a taste for these things. It's just like
Gramps is so
doesn't have an appreciation for this at all. Let's aim for his window.
Oh my god! I do. Fury is a kind-hearted person, but I think he could use a little bit more excitement.
He's boring.
He's boring. He's too much in his head. And that line that John says to him, which Darius said to him as well, that you're a prisoner. You're a prisoner with no bars, or you're in a prison with no bars, and that is really describes him perfectly, because he's stuck in his head and he can't get out. And that's why he's so freaking boring. Like, he can't.
He's so much self-loathing. It's just really sad.
It's a lot. It's like, hey, stop it. You know, I don't know. I feel like I feel like Fury could really like, he should just let loose one time. You know what I mean? Like, that would be really good for him. And I especially in this book, he's just not there. I don't think he believes he deserves happiness.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
I agree.
So, we got to talk about the kneading, because that was interesting.
The whole house. I went in a kneading. I'm like,
vampires and a human sharing a bed naked. Yeah.
I think so. We have been warned, right? So Havers was like, you know, she gonna get a thing. You know, and the first time I read it, I was like, what's the thing? Like, okay, so she get a little, you know, but the way they describe it sounded like a sonic pulse, like poof, and it just like radiates around the house, and then everybody is hit with it. And I was like, damn, Rab, let that girl go. Stay off of her rage. It was very, very intense. Very. The kneading.
And then you got
it's still intense.
Yep. And Butch comes to the house and they're all naked in the morning or the next day. Waking up.
Can we talk about that?
In the same bed, all naked. All hanging out. And high. Mind you, they were all high
and sneaking into the bathroom and taking care of themselves.
I just feel like, okay, I'm not saying it.
So
okay, I'm gonna say it. I just feel like something had to happen that wasn't okay.
I know, you keep going there. We'll get to that point.
But okay, so wait, back to that point, right? So when Butch wakes up in the morning, Fury is like next to him, groggy, and you know, Vicious, on the other hand, is passed out comfortable. Just comfortable. Knocked out like he's had a good old time.
He's in his element.
He had a good old time.
Like he had a wonderful time with that light hand, or wonder what that light hand feels like. Like, is it heat or is it electricity or
Both. Whatever.
Like the sun. I feel like it has the same heat.
Is it bad that I want him to feel the light hand, like one, like just a little.
We would turn into like cedar. So, what is that? Ash.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we can touch. I don't think we can.
No, I mean, like, it can get really close to you, like Butch.
I think that only works with Butch. Well, we can't talk about that. Let's not.
Yeah.
It only works for
only.
Butch.
It's a lot
Only
of
works for
that
Butch.
he does that only work for Butch. Okay, I'm done. No more. All right, that's fine. I got nothing else to say.
Why do you think Red wanted to cry when Marissa fed from him?
Oh,
That was the
because,
sweet moment.
Red longs for a lot of things that he thinks he can't have. He is a bad boy. And it not, and in a lot of ways, not so much a bad boy, but it's a lot of things that he just can't have because there are secrets. There are things about Red that he can't let. So Marissa is very aristocratic, right? And he likes her. He likes her a lot. He's not bonded to her, but he likes her. And how would she be with him? And he's got this seedy ass bar selling drugs and it's humans in and out of there all the time. He got prostitutes. And, it's a lot that he does.
But I think it's more, it goes beyond that too. It's that sympath side of him. The only reason why she could feed off of him is because he can lie, like he was able to lie to her. And she was like, oh yeah, that's okay. So his blood tastes a little different. Like she didn't realize that he was a sympath. Just unlike Fury that tasted it right away and knew.
And
I think, I'm sorry, go ahead, AJ.
I was going to say, I think that the fact that he feels that he has to lie to her, that he's not comfortable enough to tell her the truth or even contemplating it, is just, that it's not his true mate. Because if that's the case, he would feel differently and he would want to confess his sins to her, and he doesn't.
Yeah, true. I think, though, I do think that the actual reason he was crying was because it's just everything represented things that he just couldn't have.
Right.
It's just a lot for him, and he wanted her. Right. But we're not ready to talk about his own reality yet. But it's it's really sad. He's sad too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just hot for him. I feel so bad. Well, I mean,
think about, he literally has to live two separate lives. His family doesn't even know who he really is, right? Like what his real life is. And then he has to dope himself up. So he's never fully himself. He's always half of who he is because he can't unleash, or he fears unleashing his natural self. So that's a lot to process, right? So that's probably why he to cry. It's a combination of all of that.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys think that in that moment he was the closest to being his real self as he could possibly be? Like, I think in that moment he let all the facade down because Marissa, bless her heart, doesn't know that sympath blood tastes different. Or sin eater blood tastes different, which I think is a really dirty word, but because that's my husband. But anyway, I just think that was probably it too, that he never gets to do that. And then when you do let something like that loose, there is a rush of emotion, right? I mean, maybe. I'm no psychologist.
No, I mean, I think that was really very vulnerable for him. And we don't really see that until later on in his book, where we see his vulnerability, but more or less, we don't really see much of his vulnerability until later. Like, this is it. We saw a little bit too with Bella, which was nice. When she came, when he was talking to her on the phone, the second time.
Yeah, he was, I mean, I think that was new for her too. She didn't seem like she was like familiar with his side. I think he's bossy. I think he can be bossy. But every now and then he lets everything down to like, show her that he really, really loves her. Because she mentioned it. I think she was like, there's the brother I love, when he was on the phone with her, and he was like, I can't lose you, It's so sweet. I love him.
So, Wellesley's death. So,
Oh my God.
it's like when they first, tell him, he believes that she died because her baby, something happened with the pregnancy. And
Yeah.
when they do tell him, no, hey, it was a lesser, it seemed to change and make him feel much, much, much worse. And it's like, why? Because a death is a death. Maybe because one was anticipated and the other was a shock. I don't know. And it's like the way that he just took off and just didn't give a fuck about anybody. And it just kind of, was like, you're not a true father to John if that's how you're going to behave. To me, it kind of annoyed me that he didn't give a fuck. Like
It was so sad.
he couldn't care about anything but that, I guess. Maybe he couldn't help it, but so.
Yeah, so this was hard for me too, because I feel like, like John said later in the book, the Lester didn't, he killed my parents, and he was kind of like, this is the only thing that I have to hang on to. And he has, the brothers, but not like Tor. And for him to, so back to the original question, I think he felt like he wasn't protecting her like a bonded male should. I think there was a lot of guilt in the way he just ghosted out of there. Was it the right thing? No. But I definitely understand what happened. I think in my head, I understand. He was just like, I should have been there to protect her. I should have. We talked a little bit about, leading up to that moment, were there telltale signs that could have alerted them? And I don't know about that. That's one of those things that you always ask when someone dies. Like, could I have stopped it? Could I have prevented it? And I believe that's very much what Tor was going through. And that's why he like rolled out. But to me, that was like another part where it was just like, oh my God, my heart is just on the floor beating outside of my body.
Yeah, I agree. I think when originally the question you're asking was was there a difference for him, her dying from a natural cause of the baby, from having the baby, pregnant with the baby, or the murder? I think it was that he was almost like anticipating, when you have someone that's ill, you anticipate that something bad's gonna always happen. And we learn that when a woman is pregnant, or a female is pregnant, in their world, is very dangerous, and a lot of them don't make it through the 18-month pregnancy. And we even, if I don't talk about previous books that we haven't read yet, but we get glimpses of Wellesley and Tor discussing the baby and his fears. So he, we know that he was afraid. He was constantly afraid something was going to happen to her with that baby. And so when he found out that she was, she had died, he just assumed it was the baby. And then when he found out that it wasn't, and then his mortal enemy that he goes out and kills every night is the one that did it, he felt like, he failed her. He's out there trying to protect everyone else, but the most important person to him, he wasn't able to protect. And I think that that really messed with him. As for John, I'm angry at him for leaving John behind like that. But at the same time, we can't control how we behave when we're grieving. Sometimes that grief is so strong that we can't, and that's why I'm giving him that slack, is that we can't sometimes can't be held accountable for our behavior. Sometimes our bodies just we lose it, and I think that's what happened before. And it's sad, and I feel so bad for John, because John finally found home, finally found some resemblance of family, and it was one thing that he obviously wanted and craved was family and safety. And he finally had that, and it was, a couple of months, and it was just ripped away from him. So I agree for John, as well as the loss for Tor. And for John, it's a double loss, because, so, not only does he find out that their mortal enemy kills his only person that's ever been a mom, that death takes away the only person that he's had that's like a dad. So it's just really sad. Really, really sad.
It's trash. It was so heartbreaking. I know. Can we spend a little bit of time on the fact that he just ghosted like that, though? Because I felt like John wasn't even in the room, and he felt him. He felt, you know what I mean? Like it was like a tornado went through the house, or freight train went.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I felt like he shattered. I felt so bad for him, and he didn't want to leave in the first place. Oh my God. That was the worst thing that happened to John in the book.
Well, I think they were afraid that they knew probably that he was going to blow up like that, and furniture and shit was flying around the room and stuff. And so I think they were just protecting him physically, not necessarily.
I think they did, but and they do treat him like a child. So they we tell the kid class, what happens. And,
well, get the women and children out, and also underneath the women and children.
So sad, though. This book tore me. I was sitting there.
This is the saddest book. I think if I go back in my head, all the books that we read, this was undoubtedly the saddest book. And I might feel different going back and rereading them, but I don't think so. Just remembering what I felt, I cried 7 times rereading this book.
No,
and it was not just my emotions.
It was
Are we talking about just what we read so far, or in the series? Are you talking the whole series? Are you talking the whole series?
No. I'm saying, I'm saying, for me, I did not cry as much reading this. I remember crying this much the first time I read it, but I don't remember crying at all, as much as I did in this book and all the other ones. I don't think I did, and I might feel different later as we reread them, and I might cry more. But I literally cried 7 times reading this book.
Oh my God! There's a book that I cried from chapter 4. There is one book that I cried from chapter 4 to the end. And I'm gonna tell you when we get to it. When we get to that book,
I forgot. I was
that
one. No, you're right.
It was so bad. Oh my God.
You're right.
No,
you're right.
I didn't cry. I don't know what it is. I mean, it was, well, maybe I'll cry this time. So,
you're right. I did cry a lot in that book. I did.
When it actually happened.
I was so shook.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
I put off reading that book for a year. Because I heard one of my friends was like, don't do it. Don't do it to yourself. And I was like, what you talking about? She was like, don't do this. Don't do this. You're not in the emotional headspace to do it. And I was like, girl, I'm gonna read it. And she was tore up for 2 weeks. I was like, okay, I'll go back to it. So that was my Black Dagger Brotherhood break. I took a year, and then I was sitting in I can't even remember where I was sitting, and I went back and read it, and I was like, oh, I get why she didn't want me to do that. It wouldn't have been a good time. I was shook. We're not gonna talk about that book. Okay. We're gonna stay in this book.
So
all right, let's
we
get
have
back
to touch
this.
on Mr. O.
Do we have
Do
to?
we have to? Ugh. God, I hate him. I hate him.
Oh, I want to stab him in the eye.
So creepy and
Gross, pervy.
so like his willingness to be the Omega's bitch to get back into Mr. X and to possibly make Bella a lesser. I mean, his willingness to just is so manipulative and so
Right.
God, it's just so creepy.
We know the Omega is not a nice guy. And the way, so like last book, he was like, I'll do anything not to go back. Anything, you know. And we saw him like losing touch with reality. I do believe that when he got with the Omega, that's kind of what sent him over the edge.
Yeah.
And he was so desperate to get back what he lost. I think that's what pushed him to be like, I'm going back. I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do, and I'm gonna stay the four lesser.
Yeah. He wanted to get.
So I think that's what it was. He was gone. He was over.
He was gone. I mean, yeah, he was gone for Bella. Like he was gonna do whatever he could to have her.
Yeah, well, he wanted to get back his life. He's he regretted joining the society. He said that it was a couple times.
Yeah.
And so Bella represented his old life. And so, even though she was
the poor human that he tortured and killed.
Well,
that wasn't I mean, that's just
he loved his girlfriend Jennifer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he just he regretted. No, she didn't die. She died of car. No, he didn't kill her. He did say how she died. That was a car accident or something.
She died on her own, but then he went crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought she didn't handle the abuse. Maybe sometimes he talks.
No. She died a different way. But
he was abusive.
He was abusive, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't know, girl. He was just a mess. Like I even for a lesser, I liked you more than I liked. I was like, you get him together.
You was a moron.
you was like, but no, you wasn't. You was like the apples. Listen, I've been on lesser a long time. They're getting apples. This means it's the solstice is coming up. Like you was
smart.
Pretty shit together. And he was trying to he was really trying to like get some order. He like, you got to be responsible. Like, be responsible, son.
And he covered for O a few times.
Yeah, he was a loyal. He was a loyal and experienced son of a bitch, but a son of a bitch nevertheless. Oh my God, those lessers. So O is the worst. I don't know. O is the worst.
If there was an award for the worst lesser, it'd be him. It's just no.
Right. Hands down. He was definitely worse than I think X was scarier. Yeah, so
far, yeah.
We only looked at it in these books.
We can't talk about later.
So far.
Oh my God, don't take me anywhere else.
So now we got to talk about Butch and Marissa.
Okay.
So why doesn't Butch believe Marissa wanted him to call on her? And then the other thing was, Butch, do you think Butch would have wanted her if she, was still a virgin, wasn't still a virgin? He got, when he was at the clinic and he saw her and she was like, I want you to call on me. And she said it like 4 times, like, I want you to call on me. Why don't you call on me? And he's just like, he's so kind of down on himself. Like, I'm a loser. I don't deserve her. She doesn't really want me. He's just ignoring the fact that she's like, call on me. I mean, what the fuck does that mean, dude? I mean, a woman is not going to say that 4 times if she doesn't mean it. But he just couldn't.
But he was in.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. So then
I was already.
I'm sort of finished it. Then you guys.
Go off, girl. So keep going.
He wanted to, so then he's trying to make himself not want her by trying to make her look, like she's ruined because, she's probably got a male now because, it's been several months or whatever. She probably got 2 males. So, she's not a virgin anymore. So trying to make himself feel like he doesn't want her. But I don't think that that's really, he's just trying to convince himself well, she's got other males now, so she wouldn't want me. What does she need me for?
Well, I
I don't
think
know, it annoys me that he wouldn't believe her.
I think I was annoyed too.
Yeah,
I felt like Marissa had already been forceful enough with him.
right,
And I think my girl Beth would have been like, wait a minute, and put her foot in the door and been like, stop, I'm speaking to you.
right.
I think she would have done it.
Yeah.
But Marissa kind of was like, well, call on me. Girl, you want that man, you need to tell that man you want him. You had already straddled his chest. So there was no. Now, but the question was about Butch. Butch was, I think he was very much comparing himself to vampires at the time. And they were bigger and they were stronger and they were sunning him. They were like, oh, you stay in the car. You stay home. So he felt inadequacies on his own that he was portraying onto her. And, oh, she ain't even a virgin no more. Now, would he have wanted her? I don't think so. I think he enjoys very much that that she was a virgin because he's from a good Catholic upbringing, and to him, that's his ideal woman. This bastion of sainthood, someone who isn't, forceful and doesn't challenge his authority as a man, because Butch is very old school. So I do believe.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that he wouldn't have been able to take it. If Revenge had got a hold of that, I don't think he would have been able to take it. I don't think it would work out anymore. And anyway, would she have wanted Butch if she had got a hold of Revenge? Okay, never mind. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But
because I don't know. I would have been like, listen, Butch, this boy is cute.
But I think, okay, so let's go back, right? So in that moment where she's like, call on me, he was feeling, he was rejecting her before he can get rejected again, right? So that was the way he was perceiving it, because what he should have said was like, why the fuck would I come to your house? I came 4 times and you didn't see me. Why would I come again? You've made it quite clear. Like, he should have said something like that, but I think he was so in his head. He was, already, like you guys said, feeling, inadequate because these vampires are gods compared to him, right? Here she is, he saw her with another dude. He was driving a Bentley, right? This guy, you can tell it was a man with the broad shoulders. He kept saying, I can tell it's a man because he had broad shoulders and he was driving a Bentley. So, right. And, so that means this dude got his own money, not the Black Dagger Brotherhood buying his fancy clothes, So
he said that like before, right? Like, I don't even buy my own clothes. I think he said it several times.
Yeah.
He feels like a
he
loser.
felt like a loser. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's earning, like, if you think about it, he is earning his keep, right?
Yeah, and
so
he wasn't contributing.
Yeah, in his own way. So the things that they can't do go out in the daylight. He was doing all of that. Being at the crime scene and investigating it like he would if it was like a regular homicide. He was doing all of that.
But he wanted to be a fighter. He wanted to be a warrior. And very much so, because he wanted V's respect. That's his best buddy, and he kind of earned it, like, from the moment he met them. He kind of earned their respect, but not quite. There was still this need to be greater,
right?
And in every way, Marissa would know that he was not greater. Like, she knew he would never be a Black Dagger Brotherhood member. He's not a warrior or a vampire. He would never be able to feed her. Butch wouldn't have been able to take that shit either. Like, her having to feed. Like, it's just, I think he was just inadequate. He felt inadequate. And that showed up.
Yeah, definitely.
So, this topic, I know.
Where are we? I don't even want to know if it's like what I think, but go ahead, tell me. I'm gonna.
I can't even remember what the questions were. So,
how do you feel about me tricking Butch into drinking his blood? And we know he did it because, you know, V had a vision, and so he's like, you know, he needs to drink my blood so I can find him later, or
But
whatever his reason. But then Butch's reaction to drinking the blood, what it did to him physically and emotionally. Well, not so much emotionally. I think it was more physical, actually. The way, because, you know, I paid attention to when I read that part. Yes, he had an orgasm, but
a big one. It
yeah,
was a big one.
A rip roarer, you know, but he
was
strong. He just went.
It was a geyser.
And then he passed out after that. You know, he was wiped after that. He had to go.
Oh my God. That was the most.
But he did. It was described that it was more of a physical reaction than it was an emotional.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
What's your take?
You go first, Sage.
Oh, I did. That's what I'm saying. I think it was more physical than it was emotional. But it was.
I think so there were two people involved in this, right? So Vicious held him through the.
Oh yeah, because he's trying to
straddled is the word.
Like from the back, right?
Yeah, and put his legs around him.
Right. Mm-hmm. So we know that Vicious has a very open sexuality.
Very.
So I'm pretty sure that Vicious enjoyed the entire thing. I'm pretty sure Butch did too. I mean, he passed out afterwards.
I've never had an orgasm that made me pass out.
Right.
I'm so jealous.
But you know what's crazy is that, you know, he could have died, right? So like
he could have died.
Like you gave him the blood.
What a way to go.
Work.
Oh my God. That scene, I was sitting there and I'm like, and in that moment, I remember last week, I was like, I was shipping them. I'm sure that's the reason I was shipping them. That was the reason I was shipping them, because I was like, I have never seen such a powerful orgasm in a romance novel in my life. It was probably like, who passes out after I know it was the blood, but he felt a lot. He felt a lot from that.
So do you think there's a lot of subtext that's added?
I do. I think that was there.
Because I think like in every single book so far, there's this, right? We're on the third. We just finished the third book. So far in all three books, there's tiny little subtext of V and Butch. And I know the next one we're reading is going to have more subtext. I remember some of it. So do you think she's just hinting for us as readers?
I don't think they did what I wanted them to do, for sure. I want, you know, I do. I really like their relationship, and I wanted them to be a couple. And I think for a long time I was kind of like, I'm glad Marissa ain't kicking it with him, because, you know, he belongs with V. So I think a lot of that was my wishful thinking. But no, I think he enjoyed it. I think that V enjoyed it for sure. I think V exhibits, oh my God, I can't go into the next book. I think V loves Butch, like loves him. And I don't think it will matter whether he was a woman or a man. He loves him to his soul. And that is such a beautiful relationship. I've always wanted them to be together. And I think Butch had the most satisfactory release of his life, because someone that touches his soul gave it to him. There, I said it. He should be together. They should be together. I don't know why y'all resisting to it. I don't know.
I'm not resisting to anything.
Like, no,
it's not that I don't like them together. I think they're good. I just it's just I just don't. I mean, I don't know. I just don't see it. But I know what you're saying. I mean, it's not that there aren't innuendos, and Butch doesn't. I mean, V doesn't like tease him all the time. He does.
Mm-hmm.
He does. He does shit all the time. But V's just, you know, and Butch after that was like, we still ain't dating.
Yeah, and that in that itself, he was like, we still ain't dating. So V made it obviously clear. So yeah, I love Marissa and Butch together because I think Marissa eventually is his type, but I don't think that the V thing would have been off the table if he hadn't been so infatuated with Marissa.
Well,
there, I said that too.
Point.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I've all along thought that. Yeah.
Yes. I feel vindicated. I feel like I won. Like I need like a prize right now because that's the first time AJ has ever been like, yeah, I gotcha. I see your point. The first time ever.
It took that scene.
Woo,
it took that
scene.
It took that scene.
I mean, like I said, I don't remember. I just remember him holding his mouth shut because he didn't want him to puke it up. But
yeah, it was a lot more than that.
Apparently,
there'll be more to come too.
He exploded. He had an explosion in his pants.
Like a bottle rocket. Took off. Woo!
It's like Mentos in a Coke bottle.
I'm glad he had done that. I'm glad he got it out of him because he was like, I think he was pent up for a while waiting for Marissa and all of that. So anyway,
so you have anything else to add? Because that was the end of our.
No, I think I won. I'm gonna leave it at that. I won.
On that note. So, next week we will be doing Lover Revealed, which is book, and we do get a lot of Mr. V in here, Mr. Vicious.
Yeah, we do.
Mm-hmm.
I love V.
Look how you're petting it. I love it. You're like petting.
Eyebrows on here.
Oh yeah. Yes. So yeah, this was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I won. I'm gonna be gloating all night. I feel like
you're not gonna.
And I'm gonna call AJ like, girl, do you listen? You said I was right. Let's pray.
Well, only because if Marissa weren't in the picture, then I could kind of see, they might.
Okay, so
experiment.
Okay, so do you see how he gave him the blood? Okay, so I'm gonna ask this question. I'm gonna go back to
Okay.
So, do you remember when I said that following morning that V would have, and V and Butch could have had some interaction, and V taking it out of his mind, because Butch didn't freaked out. I mean, this is like how I see it. I see this, and maybe it's the writer in me, but I'm rewriting this.
I see where you're going.
Right. So I'm I'm fan fictioning right now. But that morning where I think it's Tor that comes in and they're in their towels and everything, and it was just really comfortable, and that subtext is in there, and I really feel like what happened was they did have it. Butch was like, no, wait, I'm hetero, and freaks out, or it's against my religion, right, or whatever it whatever it may be. Do you think now that
I just thought they were
possibility?
comfortable like bachelors, but
I believe it would have been exciting. So I do think men walk around each other naked more than they let on. I think, especially like locker room type stuff, like they not, but I don't think it happened only because the point of view, we would have probably seen it, but I wouldn't put it past V still. Like, I still wouldn't put it past him. Butch is very cis het, and he would not like to do that in retrospect. He'd probably be like, what the fuck did I do? Right? And it would betray everything he thought he knew about himself. So I could totally see if they were to go down that path, V wiping his memories. It would be unfortunate because we know other things about the book, but I could see that happening. But I don't think it happened at all because of
So
the
you're
point
just
of
gonna
view.
say my fanfic is not true. So my fanfic isn't true. Okay, I got you.
Your fanfic, I mean, write it though. I'll read it because that's my
I don't want to write the whole thing. That's too complicated. I'll just write that scene. It'll be my fanfic.
I'm shipping them. We should totally rewrite scenes on here and just like it would be very long. We talk a lot anyway, so it'd be like all night, and people would be like, "Fuck, I'm going to bed." They just talk too much. So yeah,
It's already been a long one. So
yeah,
comments, questions below. We appreciate it. I'm glad that you're joining us and you've made it this far because, now we're at the end. So next week, our reveals. Excited. Already started reading it. Love Butch. Love Butch. So we're excited. So
Yay.
next time. Bye.
bye.
Bye.